along with T Man and S Hacker, and today we're talking about Brett Kavanaugh. It's a big controversy. We got 100,000 churches against his nomination. We have the American Bar Association reevaluating the well-qualified rating for him. There's a call for Kavanaugh not to teach at Harvard anymore, and Yale has called it a con job, that they weren't interviewed. There are a lot of people that he went to school with that wanted to be interviewed, and we're just going to talk about it. Tita, man, you've been following this. What do you think? You think that they're going to vote him in?
Well, so far, all the indications are that they will vote him in. Nobody should be surprised that they will vote him in. I think what a lot of people, they're looking at it, they're saying that Brett Kavanaugh lied. Brett Kavanaugh assaulted this woman, and he hasn't been accountable for any of his actions. But you got to understand, the president selected this man because he has a knack for getting people who have some kind of sexual assault allegations. He also has a knack to find liars. That's what Brett Kavanaugh has done. Not only that, Brett Kavanaugh doesn't have the temperament to be a judge. We already know that he's biased. He's shown that he's going to be biased. But this is what they want. This is about power. This is about them holding on to their power and enhancing their power. So make no mistake about it. Just because these Republicans are female and a woman, that they feel some kind of way, they might. But you know what? It's about the dollar. It's about the lobbyist jobs they will have when their career is done. So they're going to do their bidding because it's party first, the country second. That's how they look at it. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about S. Hacker. They don't care about Dr. Blasey Ford. They don't care about the assault victims. You know, this is a charade. And to say that they care and do this shows you actions speak louder than words. That's the bottom line. So, as Hacker, I mean, I know you got views on this. I want to hear your views.
Well, first of all, I agree with you. All the people who knew him at that time said that he's lying. Said that he used to drink to the point where, again, in his words, he would simply go to sleep. But in everybody else's language, you faded out. You blacked out. You were that inebriated that you just passed out and you could not remember anything that you had done. He said that, yeah, he remembered it well. Well, his friends, again, the friends who knew him then, said that there is no way, and that when he became drunk, he was belligerent and sexually aggressive. So again, on the outside looking in, I've never met this man, but I do trust the testimony of Dr. Ford, and I trust the fact that his friends, who were his friends at that time, who witnessed him in action when he was drunk, know him much better than we did.
Hey, what do you think about his roommate coming out? What do you think about his roommate?
His roommate who came out and said it, yeah, he used to drink a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I believe them. Because again, nobody knows you like the people who knew you when you and them were doing the same activity. Again, none of his friends have said, well, we weren't drinking. They said we were all drinking. And even Brett Kavanaugh said, I forgot when he said it, but like, yeah, you know, I'm not surprised because we're a bunch of...
I like beer.
He said we're a bunch of drunks or whatever the case may be. You know, again, if you're saying that, then you know who you are when you're drunk. Some of us do not drink, but those of us who do drink know when our limit has been overdone. And we know how, you know, from what people tell us what we did. You know, that's the only way we know what we've done. So again,
what do you think about the letter that they wrote about the beach party? You
know, again, they were there, right? Again, you know, all the people, you know, who are voting for him today, these senators.
Sandra, that's all evidence and proof of what he done. But they're ignoring it because they don't feel that it was youthful indiscretion. That's how they look at it. Chuck Grassley looks at this as a youthful indiscretion. And then Lindsey Graham with his fake, you know, white privilege anger. How dare you question us on that, what we do as young boys when we grind up in a sexual way against young girls. That's the making of a white privileged male.
That's the making of a person who's committing a sexual assault now and who will commit a sexual assault in the future. Again, as President Trump said, you know, you could grab them by the pussy. And again, what are they going to do? You know, what are they going to do?
Protest.
Yeah, they did a lot of protesting yesterday. A lot of people went to jail. They're protesting again today. But I just want to ask, who, these letters, these calendars from the 80s, I mean, don't these people ever do some spring cleaning? Are you kidding me? I mean,
that's how important he thought.
But who has a letter from the 80s?
Again, that's how important he thought he would be in the future, you know, for his memoirs or whatever the case may be, to keep up, you know, or to reach back and say, hey, you remember when? Look at this letter, you know. People like that who like, yeah, in case I don't remember this when we did such and such. Yeah, you know, those kind of people. The average person will throw things away, but not a person who thinks, you know, that special snowflake, that, you know, this may go down in snowflake history. Let me keep it. That's what that's about.
What did you think about the investigation?
We know this investigation was a sham. It was a sham when the minute came out that it said the White House had to call investigation. You can call Trump anything that you want, but one thing you never should underestimate Trump is being conniving and underhanded. And if there was a way for him to do it, he found that way and he exploits that way. There was no way that he was going to have an investigation to find something that was detrimental to Brett Kavanaugh. And if it was, it would never see the light of day. They didn't interview him. They didn't interview Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. They didn't interview none of Deborah Ramirez's people who could back up her claim and accusation. They didn't want to hear, and they weren't looking.
Yeah, and again, how is the White House able? I thought, you know, we had these separate branches of government. I didn't know the executive branch controlled the FBI.
Well, it's not so much that they controlled the FBI in this case, but they did unfortunately have some latitude because this was for a background investigation. It wasn't for a criminal investigation. But nevertheless, I think that it taints the FBI. It certainly taints the whole system about how we look at investigating people. They had over 40 people that were recommended being investigated, and they were told not to investigate. I just find that to be appalling.
And again, to me, you know, if we look back on, you know, the background investigations that have been so-called done, you know, Jared, you know, his son-in-law didn't pass a background investigation, you know, didn't pass a background check for a long time, and he still had access to top secret information. Again, as Tina Mann said, it proves that they really don't care about investigations, about the rule of law, about anything, as long as we are able to get what we want when we want it. Jared,
they don't care about women's issues.
No, again, that Jared should not be having at this point. He still shouldn't have access to top secret information.
And where's his daughter at? Ivanka, you haven't heard a peep out of her.
No, you really haven't.
Right? You know, if he grinds against her, what, you know, the daddy gonna say, well, you know, Brett just being Brett. He's probably a little tipsy, but he likes you.
He loves beer and he likes you. You know, again, boys will be boys, as Ivana said.
You better stay away from him at the Christmas party because he might get a little hands-on. You know.
Hey, watch that punch. Watch his punch.
If Trump's not there first.
You know, grabbing him. You know, because you know what can they do?
Well, I just find the whole process has just been a little bit depressing, and I think it really started out when the president started just talking so horrible about Dr. Ford. You know, we knew that, you know, it wasn't going to last, that he was saying that, you know what, she was credible, you know, she was believable. Then you read behind the lines that he was upset that she was credible. She was upset that she was believable. And then he goes out on these rallies and I mean, just takes her and throws her under the bus, drags her through the mud, you know, gets
if he could rape her again, he would. That's the only thing. So he's symbolically raping this woman again. She's hollering, she's crying, she's upset. But guess what?
That's why she didn't want to talk about it.
We know why she didn't want to talk about it. And that's why he does with the things that he does.
And again, Trump's thing is, all right, if I grab them and they say something, oh, okay, you just don't want me or whatever the case may be. If I grab them and they're good, well, okay, we got to keep this a secret. I'll pay you off later. If he grabs them and, there's some other thing, yeah, you don't remember I wasn't there and all this, I even have a pseudonym. How many presidents have we had? They had a club name, right? When he paid off, when he signed a non-disclosure agreement with Stormy
Stormy
Daniels,
Daniels.
right? Yeah, he put somebody else's name, right? Again, who has a club name?
Well, now he can be President Toadstool. Stormy Daniels put on Jimmy Kimmel, and you know what? We gave him 3 inches. And the truth of the matter, it ain't but 1.5.
Wow.
And Sandra, I know you said that he didn't use
there's no shaft on our head.
I'm just gonna tell you, the reason why he didn't use one, he couldn't find one small enough to fit.
Yeah, they don't make them extra small. They make them extra big, but they don't make them extra small.
Well, tie a yellow ribbon around the bottom or something, man. Come on now.
That'd be a pretty big ribbon to bring it out.
Hey, you don't want the ribbon bigger than him, huh?
Yeah.
So Donald Trump, his wife is gone to Africa. She's in Africa and she's hugging on babies. And I will admit, I thought maybe a trip like this might be 2 or 3 days, but I think she's been gone about a week and she ain't even talking about coming back. But she almost fell feeding baby elephants over there. Donald Trump hasn't said anything about his wife being over there in Africa. He hasn't, tried to, tout that she's doing this.
But,
he might even feel some kind of way about her.
You know what it is?
Shithole country. Remember, that's one of the shithole countries.
Melania is over there actually looking for mandingo, and he thinks she's looking for mangoes. That's the difference.
Well, all right. Again, I'm gonna abstain from what I was about to say because it would be too cruel. But good luck with her.
I'm glad that she's over there. I don't know how much good she's doing. She's over there with her Be Best campaign, and I don't know how that's gonna better the lives of these people. But she's there. She's visiting. And I just find it kind of strange that out of all of the things that we're hearing about, Donald Trump nor the Republicans or the Trump administration is talking about the fact that the first lady's over there in Africa.
Well, she's also
no publicity
with USAID, and she's donated 1.4 million books to these African countries, so these kids can actually read. I just hope it isn't a Be Best and The Art of the Deal by Donald Trump. So I don't know what the title of these books are.
They should put fear, give them kids fear, and what's Omarosa's book?
Unhinged.
Unhinged. She can bring some of them and bring them over there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So. But I mean, she's doing a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it genuine? We don't know yet. We'll find out. Mm-hmm. We knew that he wasn't going to go.
Oh no, we can't. We don't have enough security apparatus to protect him. And the so-called shithole country.
He's bragging that the African people love her. They love they love Melania. They love her, and So he wants to take whatever goodwill that she got and rub it off on him. That's a narcissist. It's all about him all the time, 24/7.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing he did get a lot of attention to, it was him going on Air Force One with that string of toilet paper on his shoe.
Yep, walking up the steps with it.
Walking up the steps with it.
Well, shit. Hey, taking shit travels.
Yeah, it does, and it flies too.
Yeah, exactly.
We all had some paper on our shoes, but none of us are, on TV walking up to Air Force One with it. I guess he wished Melania was there, because she might have been able to look down and tell him,
step on it, and so you can hold on the shoe.
Yeah.
But what about your boy Suge Knight?
So, Suge Knight ran over somebody and killed him. Suge Knight's been in prison.
Backed up and ran over them again.
He ran over him again. Suge Knight probably should have never been out of prison, but you know what? He's gonna do 28 years, and I you know, he'll be pretty old man by the time if he lives that long. I have the smallest violins playing for Suge Knight. You know, we could talk about Death Row Records. We could talk about a lot of the things he did, but you know, you can't get people like Vanilla Ice to say, hey, you know, he was a good guy when he hung him upside down and made him sign over all his music. Suge Knight is exactly where he needs to be, and I couldn't care less.
Right, and maybe hopefully, forget passing the soap. He needs to be focusing on not passing out. Cause all right, you might have a chance if you're a big man in prison, but if you pass out, all right, you're at floor level. They could kick you easily.
Okay.
I'm not a big Suge Knight fan.
Right.
I don't think that, you know, he was that great for hip hop, you know, and he certainly hasn't taken the blessings that he's been given and used them wisely. He certainly has. He's a very violent person.
Cat Williams to come and visit him.
Yeah, maybe. You know, if he's not running out of radio stations, you know.
So, but you know, so if you want to see some on Suge, you know, he's on Netflix and called Biggie and Tupac. So there you go, Suge. You know,
Yeah,
the whole documentary scene on it.
He could watch it from the rec room.
There you go. So they picked the Nobel Peace Prize winner, and it was not Donald Trump, but I think what kind of, you know, eluded me was who put him on the list to even be considered.
Yeah,
but Nadia Murad.
Yeah, probably.
Yes, Stephen Miller put him on the list because he thinks what putting those kids in cages is a peaceful thing. You know, he didn't send them to the gas chamber. He just sent them to the cage to be locked up.
Right, because again, as that guy on Fox News said, they're not our kids.
Yeah, but the thing about it, the people, two of the people that did win was a Congolese doctor who treated sexual assault victims, and the sexual assault victim herself, who was captured by ISIS, that became a sex slave.
Right.
Very brave to come and talk about her assault. Did she bring it out to the forefront that women now that are being sexually assaulted are speaking out. They're speaking out and said, I've been assaulted, and they're not hiding behind shame. And I think that's so brave of them. And last night, I just happened to be on YouTube, and I was looking at Simone Askew. I don't know if you know who Second Lieutenant Simone Askew is. She's a West Point graduate. She was captain of the Cadet Corps. And so she was the highest ranking cadet, you know, at West Point. And she was in charge of the 4,400 West Point cadets. She went to Glamour magazine and she spoke in her freshman year that she was a victim of sexual assault. I had never heard that. And the fact, the way she said it, she says, I'm a victim. I was victimized, but I'm not a victim. And she used that experience to make her a stronger person, a better person, and to become a leader. I mean, this girl, she got nothing but the stars ahead of her. And I'm so happy and proud of her, not so much for speaking out, but for the other things that she's done. And the fact that she did speak out and she's not gonna use this, you can't hold me back because I was victimized. That's like getting your house robbed and saying that, well, you know what? You got your house robbed, you're not a safe person. Yeah, you robbed my house one time, but you know what? You ain't coming up here in this house again.
Exactly.
You know,
I'm
so
on
that's
alert.
it. You know, I'm gonna have a dog or a gun or both.
You know,
I'm gonna have a dog. I'm gonna have a ring.
You know,
I'm gonna have all that.
I'm gonna have, you know, so yeah. So, but I just thought it, and that the people who won the prize are well deserving of this prize.
Right.
And you know, they're speaking for the good, the right, and this president will never stand up and do something that is right unless it enhances him. That's the only way it does to make it like. And you know, and Jessica Buchanan, I don't know if you know who Jessica Buchanan was. Jessica Buchanan was an aid worker who was captured by the Somali pirates, who was held for ransom for $45 million. And our president, the last real true president, Barack Obama, he sent the SEALs in to rescue her. He didn't have to. He could have left her there. But when he heard about it, he says, what can we do to help her?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did. He sent SEAL Team 6 in. They killed 9 Somali pirates, put her on a helicopter, brought her back to the ship, from the ship onto a hospital in Italy. So today she can talk about how she was rescued, not only by the U.S. SEALs, but her thanks to President Obama. Now, do you think Donald Trump is going to help somebody?
No.
Hold your breath.
Exactly. You're truly on your own.
Yeah.
So how do you all feel about the fact that Donald Trump is really trying to stoke divisions between us by saying that young men need to be concerned about being accused falsely of doing something they didn't do? He's not showing any concern about young women. He's stoking these fears that, you know, Mom, I got a good job. Mom, somebody accused me of something. Mom, now I don't have my job. It's like, really?
Well,
how do you all feel about that?
As a man, here's the thing. As a man, sometimes you put in an indefensible position of being falsely accused of something that you didn't do.
Sometimes women do too.
Well, I know.
And you already know. I know.
And there
as
are
a
cases,
woman, I know.
There are cases, and you know, as I do, Sandra, there are cases where women will falsely accuse you. And so then your whole reputation, your credibility is being questioned. Now, I just say that anybody falsely accuse somebody of that should suffer the same consequences as if that person has done it. So if you falsely accuse me of raping you and I'm gonna get 15 years in jail for actually raping you, then that's what you should do on a false accusation.
Just like
not a mistaken identity, but on a false accusation that is proven to be a false accusation.
But again, in this country, we know that occurs a lot.
Yes,
look at the Emmett Till.
Well, it's 2 to 10% of the time.
Look at the Emmett Till situation from way back in the day, right? All she had to do was say, "Well, he looked at me," and they strung him up. And then years later, after this man is dead, this woman comes out and says, "I made it up." She has suffered nothing.
That's right.
And that's why I say that she should pay for the false accusation.
Exactly. I agree with you, Tyndale. If it's truly false, then yes. If you come out and say, "Well, I made that up," yeah, you should. It's the same as lying to the police to me.
This is different if somebody breaks in.
It's even worse than that because you get convicted. It's lying to the jury. It's lying to
again. I don't even know if they had a trial with Emmett Till. I think they just strung him up, right?
This is different if some woman was drugged and she wakes up and she thinks possibility is you because you've been maybe even just watching her or staring at her or you see her at the bus stop.
You might have tried to rap to her. You might have tried to date her. She might have said no.
Or the police says, "Hey, we found some gum in front of her door, and we linked this DNA to this person." And then she says, "Yeah, I think that's him because I remember the cologne that he had on." You say, "I didn't have no cologne on." Cops tell you, "Well, it must have been your body odor, but she remembers you."
Exactly.
Yeah, but if we go on your house, that
could be a mistaken thing. But when they blatantly know it's not you and they make this false allegation.
Yeah, they should suffer.
Yeah, but it is a small percent of that occurs. And what Donald Trump is doing is he's trying to get people hyped up that, it's only men that suffer from this kind of stuff. And the reality of it is that most of the times that's not the case, that it's made up, and that men really don't have to have to worry that much about being accused of something that they didn't do. And that he should also show concern about the women who are saying that they have been sexually abused or been sexually assaulted. That by and large, that is the problem.
By and large,
it's a very small problem of people being accused and it not being true. It's very small. Overwhelmingly, it is big when they are accused and that they don't receive any kind of sentence, any kind of,
any
go to the police, they don't believe the women, so for the most part, like I said, it's worth talking about, but Donald Trump makes that the main point. And it's not the main point at all. It really isn't.
But the main point
I have been accused of some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but he makes it that way, but he's showing no regard to women who, like I said, who it mostly does affect. and it's mostly true. I mean, hey, look at all the cases that we've had just this year. You know, and I mean, when they catch these guys, it ain't, and even Donald Trump himself, 19 women accused him of, you know, some type of sexual misconduct. It's never like one or two. It's Donald. Look at Bill Cosby. It was 60 women. You know,
Sandra,
it's like, you kidding me?
Sandra, it's Donald Trump. What do you expect?
Exactly.
Do you expect more for him? No.
The lowest common denominator.
You know what? Yeah, you know, he's in that calculus part right now where you go like into the negative numbers.
Mm-hmm. But again, you look at Donald Trump, right? And again, I've said this before. Yeah, you could try to get away with it, but the people who support him, you know, you look at that rally he had.
The enablers.
In Mississippi, where all these people were clapping and giving him ovations about him dragging a fellow American through the mud because she's a woman and she accused his guy of sexually assaulting her. You know, they're cheering.
Yeah, cheering.
They're cheering. And again, in the United States.
What do you expect from Mississippi, though?
They were supposed to be, we're supposed to be, as the United States is supposed to be like the moral majority for the world. Really? Is this this is where we are, right?
Well,
and
that's an illusion that we're the moral majority of the world. Listen,
in the
40s, they had people who supported Hitler here in the United States. You know,
right, we still have them now.
Yeah, you know, so you know, let's move on from Trump because we'll be here all day talking about Trump. I'm gonna talk about something else. What else we got to talk about?
Well, I think we wanted to talk about the police officer here in Georgia, Fulton County. This was a police officer. She had been a police officer for 4 years, and she was sentenced to 15 years for blaming. She got shot, and the shot supposed came out the woods when she pulled up to her house, and she blamed a black man for shooting her. So they gave her 15 years in prison and 23 years of probation. And I mean, you know what? Sometimes the squeaky wheel does get the grease.
Well, good for her. I hope that maybe the woman in Texas might get the same thing, but her situation is a little bit different. But when the facts come out, we'll really know if that's true or not. But you know, when you falsely accuse somebody like that, and especially under the guise of being a police officer or you know, color or something like that, we had the Van Dyke trial here in Chicago. He shot this man 15, 16 times. Talking about he saw. You know, he thought he saw a knife or something like that. But you know what? The only reason why he stopped because he was reloading. Nobody else shot but him. He's the only one that did the shooting.
Yeah.
But he's talking about.
And he got off the scene and within 5 seconds he started shooting.
Yeah. Well, you know what? He intended to kill him when he saw him because
I'm gonna tell you something. This is a big case, and if he doesn't get convicted, it's gonna be a problem. I'm telling you, they shot this young boy 16 times. If he doesn't get, and he's up for his.
The problem is, I don't think it looks like it might be a hung jury. Now that's just my gut feeling. By the makeup of the jury.
I hope not.
You know, so it might be a hung jury. You know, I know they have Hispanic minority people on there, and they got people goodwill, but there's always one who thinks the police is always right, and he was in fear for his life, and so they feel that it's reasonable that they shoot a black man. Exactly. I mean, you don't shoot a dog in the street like that. You know,
he was a kid. It's horrible.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they'll get they'll find him guilty. I'm hoping that they do. So listen, they're supposed to vote on all of this stuff this weekend. So we'll report about this next week, and when we find out if Judge Kavanaugh becomes Supreme Court Justice Judge Kavanaugh.
Yep. And if you do, you know what? We just got to win the midterm. We got to make this change. Yeah. I know a lot of young people, they want to vote. They don't think nothing matters. They got to come out and vote. They got to come out in droves. And it's not just the blue state they come out because there's an overindulgence in blue states. You got to get these young people in these red states to do it. But when you're chewing tobacco and on crystal meth, it's hard to get them people to the polls. You got to bribe them with drugs, I guess. I don't know. But we need them to go. We need them to vote. We need them to make this change, you know. Evil and racism, it lasts for not just generations, but for millenniums. I mean, we've been dealing with this since the 1700s, and if not further. Yeah. So it's not going to stop overnight. You know, it's like climbing a granite stone, and you just have to chip away at it. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to chip away at it. We're trying to stop it. But, you know, who knows? You know, we just do what we can do and pray that we can stop it or slow it down until we can make the change. So, you know, like they say, election has consequences. And obviously when you steal an election and a fix an election, other of us suffer the consequences also.
Right. Absolutely. It affects us all.
So, you know, keep up, put a smile on your face. It ain't gonna be the end of the world. We're warriors. You know what? We can't win every battle, but as long as we don't lose the war. So that's what it is.
Exactly. And the only way you lose is to
get
stop
us some
fighting.
ammunition, go back out there and keep the fight on. And I just want to say, you know, people like Amy Schumer, and there are other people out there, celebrities who are out there who feel the same way we do. They're out there battling. They know what's wrong. They're trying to make the change. It's going to happen, you know. It's going to fall. It just matters when, and will we be there to see it when it falls. Right. So we just keep our heads up, keep moving, keep battling, and keep going on. And we got to get the right people in the right places at the right time.
Exactly.
Okay.
You guys reach out to us on LeeStreetBeat.com, on Lee Street Beat Podcast. We'd like to hear you. You know, and subscribe. You know, it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe.
Yeah. So until next week, this is Lee Street Beat. And like Sandra said, we're on LeeStreetBeat.com. And we're also on Lee Street Beat Podcast on our YouTube channel. So check us out. While we're at it, I told you, I don't know if I talked to you, Sherry, but we have a young man he's a Trump supporter. And we're going to try to interview him after the Kavanaugh confirmation or whatever it is going to be, and get his views on why he supports Donald Trump. I talked to him briefly, and he says he supports Donald Trump because Donald Trump has put money in his 401k. He hasn't gotten rich on the 401k. So I want to go a little bit more in depth with him and why.
I can't wait. I'm going to wear brown shoes.
You know, I'm going to wear brown boots because it will be high.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We're going to be polite. We're going to be civil, but we're going to get him woke. So he ain't going to play this stuff like, you know, how they always want to pivot on Fox News, because I'm thinking he's an adult Fox News viewer, you know, like, you know, they always want to go to Barack Obama. Obama.
I'm not going to let them get that aboutism.
This is Trump match. We're going to talk about him and Trump. And I want to ask him, since you got a 401k, how come you ain't rich and why you still working? I want to know that.
Exactly.
That's kind of my own thing. You paying rent. You can't get a mortgage because you don't make enough money. You can't get a new car because your credit ain't good. But you got your 401k, but you can't get your 401k because you haven't been there long enough to get vested. I just want to know how you're going to get rich. Just tell me. Has Trump made you rich? But anyway, that's it. That happens next week. And if it don't happen, well, we know, you know, like I said, you know.
He's a true Trump supporter. And he's acting like Donald Trump. And he's going to say a lot of stuff. You know, it's like the leak, you know, when that article came out, you know, how, there was resistance within the White House, within the administration. And they were doing all these things to keep Trump from basically ruining the U.S. economy. Again, he's already damaged our image beyond repair to a certain degree, right? So maybe he's going to do like Trump and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then crickets.
Yeah.
So hopefully he doesn't do the cricket routine.
Well, anyway, we'll find out. We'll find out next week. So this is supposed to happen next week. And if it happened, we'll bring it to you on Lee Street Beat. And if it don't happen, we still got a lot to say. So until then, it's T the Man, S Hacker, and Sandra Tucker. Stay up, pray for us, and goodbye.
Keep fighting.
Keep fighting. Give power to people.
Exactly.
Bye.
Bye.